Right. Good afternoon, guys. First of all, thank you for attending this, Foresight 2024 this afternoon. And today, first of all, I'm not Larry. I'm Eden, our research director at the block. Larry is not available this afternoon. Today we have a fireside chat with Gary Till from OSL. So, good afternoon. And
thank you.
Yeah, can you give us like a quick intro of OSL?
Sure. So OSL Group, we're listed on the Hong Kong EX. We've been running our digital asset business under our listed platform for, I think, coming up to our 6th year now. And we've been operating as a licensed venue for, this is our 4th full financial year. We've always been a bit more of an institutional name within the market. So obviously, I can confidently say we were the first audited crypto business client for the big four audit firms. We're the first in Asia to actually take out a comprehensive hot wallet insurance. As well as being first to be licensed in Hong Kong, we were the first to actually intermediate a tokenized BTC-linked bond in Hong Kong, as well as the first tokenized investment-grade equity-linked warrant in Hong Kong. So that's just among some of the things that we do. But I know this is sort of post-lunchtime, everyone's a little bit sleepy, so maybe I won't talk as much about sort of regulation and what we do. But I'd love to talk about any other all the other stuff you want to talk about.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because regulation is a huge topic, but the Hong Kong spot ETFs have been like a hot topic in recent months. So can you talk about what is the role of OSL in the space of spot ETFs?
Sure. So ETFs, I think we briefly touched on it this morning. ETFs, if you actually take apart an ETF structure, and I did actually spend the time to look at this, the minimum number of players or number of types of financial institutions you need to put together a spot crypto ETF is about 9 to 10. So that is a theoretical minimum number of types of financial institutions you need. If you look at the number of players you need at the table to make the whole structure to go from blueprint to launching, that number goes up to about 15. So for people who are wondering what these players are, obviously you've got the Hong Kong EX or the Stock Exchange of Hong Kong, and then you've got asset sub-custodian to actually hold the crypto, master custodian to actually support the fund, you have a fund manager, and then you have market makers, you also have distributors or participating dealers, as well as all the brokers who are helping to execute trades on a daily basis. So at a bare minimum, without that list of players, you can't have a spot crypto ETF, full stop. And then you have to add on top of that, custodians need auditors, sub-custodians need auditors, fund managers need auditors, brokers need auditors, as well as all the banks behind the scenes to actually support all the cash movements. So you actually need a cast of many, many people to actually be working together in order to make a spot crypto ETF happen. So the reason why that's worth keeping in mind is ETFs as a financial instrument within capital markets or financial products markets is intended to be a very plain vanilla, low cost and highly liquid instrument. Now, if you string that many people together to work together to make the instrument happen, there is a huge amount of pressure to keep the cost down. So if you have, let's call it 10 different financial institutions, everyone needs to make money in order to be worthwhile to do a job, right? So in the case of the spot crypto ETFs in Hong Kong, the pressure on each of the participants to keep the fees very low in order to be price competitive against the US market was immense because Hong Kong actually has a very high cost base. So I think that's a good sort of starting point to keep in mind. What OSL's role in the context of the spot crypto ETFs in Hong Kong we're actually the sub-custodian for 4 of the listed ETFs in Hong Kong, so 2 BTC ETFs and 2 Ethereum ETFs. We are the sub-custodian that actually holds the crypto. We're also the trading venue for the ETFs to actually buy and sell the crypto. So for example, cash comes in, the fund needs to buy. What does it do? It goes to OSL and actually puts in an order to buy or sell. What we also happen to be is we're also the custodian for some of the participating dealers who are actually sending crypto into the fund through the in-kind creation or the in-kind redemption process. So actually, as it happens, we actually played multiple roles within the creation process for the ETFs. And I think what we've observed is the extent of collaboration between the manager, between the managers, China AMC, Harvest, as well as the master custodian, BOC Prudential Trustees, and also all of the other players, to make this exercise happen in 4 months was immense. And these products were launched in Hong Kong from blueprint to doing their first trade on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange within about 4 months. It was record time.
Wow, that seems like a very difficult landscape to navigate. But as you said, OSL has been playing like a critical role in terms of facilitating these crypto ETFs in Hong Kong. But you also mentioned a lot of challenges that ETFs in Hong Kong face. So, apart from challenges, do you see any advantages of these ETFs in Hong Kong?
Yep. So I think this morning we mentioned, for example, in-kind creation and redemption as being a very important point. Just to share a bit of numbers. So OSL is currently the sub-custodian for about 2/3 of the crypto AUM within the spot ETFs. What we have seen, so that number brings the AUM to about 1.3 billion honky. So of that, about 200 mil have been done through in-kind subscriptions. So what that implies is about 200 mil worth of BTC or ETH have gone directly from the public blockchain into the wallets of regulated fund asset managers in Hong Kong. That's 200 mil of assets. So the reason why that's relevant is if we want to measure how convenient a certain channel is for moving financial assets, this is what we're starting to see. It's not probably as mature. Well, it's nowhere near as mature as the traditional financial markets yet. But essentially, we've made it connect, and it works, and it works predictably. So what I think the previous panel, what a lot of the speakers were talking about in a lot of the Web3 businesses that we still see today is unpredictability. Do people know their assets are going to be available when they need it? Do people know their cash is going to get through a certain payment channel when they need it? What ETFs and also the in-kind creation and redemption has meant is actually predictability. There was a recent article in Financial Times in the last few weeks talking about our current infrastructure globally that supports the internet. And one of the most important infrastructure is something that we don't talk about ever when we talk about Web3. It's submarine cables. So underwater telecommunications cables. They currently support 99% of internet traffic in the whole world. And submarine cables can be knocked out by something as dumb as a ship landing an anchor in the wrong place. So our whole global internet infrastructure can be at the mercy of one single ship anchor. Now, so the reason why this is relevant is when we talk about being able to pay people in a different way, for example, through Web3 channels, or to send assets into a different channel through a different means. So, for example, going directly from a private wallet into a fund. To me, the significance is we now have more options. So if banking channels is too slow, if banking cutoff time is inconvenient because it cuts off at 3 p.m. on a Hong Kong afternoon, well, you now have other channels to explore. What if you need to move assets on a weekend? What if I want to trade my assets on a public holiday? So in the same way as people are now concerned that 99% of internet traffic throughout the globe can be knocked out by a single ship's anchor, people now are actually looking at ways to broaden out the infrastructure so that we're not reliant on one single piece. And when we're talking about internet traffic, we're talking about 1980s or 1970s infrastructure. So Web3 currently is still at the mercy of infrastructure from the 1980s, whether we like it or not. So banking payments is something that we saw revolutionized, for example, by a lot of payment service providers. I think we're on the cusp of seeing more and more payments channels being revolutionized because of the innovations we've seen. So, you know, that the ETFs actually, they do represent a very good example of.
Right, thank you. And speaking of, you know, these worldwide infrastructure, you know, Ethereum, like a lot of people has been talking about it being like a world computer of some sorts. Ethereum and like Bitcoin, they both have their own ETFs, but you know, ETH, the valuation of ETH has been, you know, struggling lately. So do you have any insights in terms of why that's happening?
Sure. So I think the Ethereum ETFs had a very tough journey at the very beginning because the ETFs, the Ethereum ETFs currently do not benefit from staking. So the underlying ETH assets that are held within the custody accounts are not allowed to be staked. This is not just the case in Hong Kong, but also the same case in the US. I think, fingers crossed, if I put on my optimistic hat, I think before the end of this year, we will see staking mechanism being permitted, hopefully, in some corners of the Hong Kong ecosystem. And it's not just OSL. I mean, we know different players, including the fund managers and other platforms, are also talking to the regulators to try to push for staking to be supported. Now, I think the important message there is once you can make it work for Ethereum, then you can also make it work for other proof-of-stake assets. So I think if I once again put my optimistic hat on, if we can make it work, then I think the road will also be easier to launch other products such as Solana. So other assets that can benefit from proof-of-stake consensus mechanisms.
Yeah, it would really set like a huge precedent, especially for other, you know, other altcoins where staking plays a huge part, offers like a much higher APY as well. So I feel like staking has been like a missing component of this Ethereum ETF ecosystem. And as you mentioned, hopefully we will see that happen soon. So thank you again for joining us in this chat, and hopefully you guys enjoy that.
Thank you.
Thank you.